Joining us today, we've got beat reporter for the Jacksonville Jaguars, John Shipley. John, how are you doing today, sir?
Hey man, I'm doing fantastic. How you guys doing?
We're doing really well. Just watched an exciting college football weekend, an exciting NFL kickoff weekend. So lots of football, lots to unpack as well with the Jacksonville Jaguars because, obviously coming off three consecutive losing seasons, and yet last year was obviously a season to forget about. You guys go out there, you draft Trevor Lawrence, you bring in Urban Meyer. Maybe let's just start with this. Is there finally a sense that the team is heading in the right direction and truly building a lasting product here for the first time in a while in Jacksonville?
There was a sense of that, at least before they went out and lost to Texans by several scores. I do think within the building there is a bit of a probably at least within the Jaguars fan base. I think probably the Jaguars fans are a bit less ecstatic than they were about the direction of the team moving forward, particularly really the direction of the team at the top of the organization. In terms of the coaching staff, the front office. I think the one thing that fans and people, especially inside the building, are still excited about is Trevor Lawrence. I think no matter how bad things may look at any point, Lawrence at least having his high level flashes that he had, and he probably had more mistakes than any of the other two rookie quarterbacks who started games last week, Mac Jones, and Zach Wilson. But his high level flashes and his peaks are just insanely high. His touchdown throw to DJ Chark. You don't see many quarterbacks in the NFL who are going to make that throw, into that hole against cover two. So I think there's still a ton of excitement around them in terms of, okay, we feel like we have the quarterback, and that's the biggest question. Now, what else can the Jaguars do moving forward? At least from my objective view, as a beat reporter, I think it's tough to make any long-term conclusions after one game or anything like that. I think definitely the vibe in the offseason was that, okay, they have, a better coaching staff around. They have better ideas for the players, on and off the field. And they have a front office that is at least potentially more, in tune with the coaching staff than the last regime. But so far, through at least 1 week, if there are going to be any overreactions, it's that a lot of the offseason moves they made, just weren't impactful. They got very little contributions from their rookie class outside of Trevor Lawrence, and that's in part because Travis Etienne's season-ending foot injury, but also in part because their second-round pick Walker Little, he was a healthy scratch. If your second-round pick is a healthy scratch, you either made a bad pick because of the player or you're mismanaging the team. And from what I saw in the preseason and training camp, it's more probably so the latter. I don't think Walker Little is a player who's a liability and should week one of the season. So just things like that. I think I brought expectations probably down a little bit.
Yeah, and you just mentioned it there. Obviously, one game does not make an NFL career, but Trevor Lawrence goes out. He has 332 yards passing, three touchdowns, three picks, a bit of a mixed bag there. Obviously, pretty disappointing to go and lose to the Houston Texans, 37-21 in the fashion that they did. But what were just your initial takeaways from Trevor's performance and just the Jacksonville offense side of the ball in general?
Yeah, no, I thought the best way I've been able to put it is Trevor looked like a rookie quarterback who was placed in the middle of a team that went 1-15 last year. I
Yeah.
think people expect him to, maybe come in and look like, peak Andrew Luck right away and just kind of completely transcend the offense. And, to a degree, when you're the consensus number one overall pick, those expectations and that pressure is going to be on you no matter what. But I thought just considering, he's a rookie quarterback and the NFL is really, really hard for rookie quarterbacks. I thought he made some throws that should leave people really excited. Not even some of the touchdown throws. He had one throw in the first half. It was, I believe, 3rd and 17 after, a penalty or a negative run. And he hits DJ Chark for a 20-yard gain after stepping up in the pocket after, both defensive tackles beat the guards for some pressure. And it was just a dart into a tight hole in coverage for a 20-yard gain. Third and 17 isn't supposed to be a down where you feel like you have a chance. It's normally when the offense waves a white flag. But with Lawrence, when they got into those 3rd and long situations, there was at least a feeling of, okay, maybe they can convert this. And it's strange that he actually looked better. The higher difficulty to throw, it looked like he was getting better at. His throw to Chark, his touchdown, his throw to Manhurts for a touchdown. The throw I just mentioned, 33-yard gain to Marvin Jones, all high-level difficulty throws that he made look easy. But on the flip side, he also made some of the easy things look hard. Jaguars allowed a lot of pressure, and he did a good job of handling that pressure. But he also missed some throws from a clean pocket. And I've seen a stat go around where people have credited the Jaguars offense with 7 drops. And, there's probably 7 instances where the offensive skill player had a hand on the ball. But there's also a time where, the quarterback's throwing a fastball behind the tight end who's cutting inside. I'm not exactly counting that as an accurate catch or a drop. So, there were several instances of that. On the other hand, there are probably 3 instances where I do think the offense let him down and did drop the ball, and the offensive line truly did not play well. And when you put all that together with the offensive game plan just not looking like there was any real rhyme or reason, and the fact that they came out looking unorganized, they had, I believe, 2 illegal formation penalties, one because the receiver was on the line and he wasn't supposed to be, and another because the left tackle was backed up too far back into the backfield, and then they had 12 men in the huddle. So just little things like that. There are some high level flashes from the offense, especially as a downfield throwing offense, and they used a lot of play action. But overall, I think there was certainly some level of concern with the consistency both around Trevor Lawrence and from Lawrence himself, and especially with the penalties.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I don't think Jacksonville was the only team who was suffering from a bit of disorganization on opening weekend. There, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Vikings. Like, I don't know how many flags were getting thrown around those games, but
it looked like a 4th preseason game for a lot of teams. It was weird to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do want to touch on, and I swear we will talk about other things other than just Trevor Lawrence here, but I do want to at least bring up something that you just mentioned, and that's the sort of Andrew Luck comparables. And there's been lots of, who does his skill set remind you of? I've heard everything from Andrew Luck to Peyton Manning. I even heard a Doug Flutie reference not that long ago. So it's a bit of a all over there, people trying to project people. Now, as someone who watches this team a little bit more closely than the average fan, does his skill set remind you of anyone in particular, or is it kind of one of those molds that we already mentioned there?
My pre-draft comparison for him, and this is just from an on-field skill set, not talking anything about the actual intangibles playing quarterback, but just from a skill set. My pre-draft comparison was a more athletic version of Matthew Stafford, a guy who, maybe isn't always the most accurate guy in the short passing game, but somebody who's incredibly tough in the pocket and somebody with truly a cannon for a right arm. It was weird to me in the pre-draft process. You saw a lot of people hype up things like Zach Wilson's arm strength, and it kind of seemed like Lawrence as a physical talent kind of got moved into the back of people's minds. But this is a guy with incredible levels of physical talent. He has, in my opinion, a rare arm talent and a rare arm strength. And I see a lot of Stafford vibes with him. And I know a lot of people see that as a negative, but Stafford is a guy who was drafted number 1 overall. Team just traded multiple first-round picks for him. In a lot of cases, Stafford goes to a better team than the Detroit Lions. We probably look at him as, one of the better number 1 overall picks in recent years. So that was really my pre-draft comparison for him. And seeing Lawrence more and more on the field, I haven't really changed from that. He's kind of honestly been exactly what I expected. Like I said, his high level throws are high level. He's going to have some mistakes just like he did at Clemson. And that's in part because, he really takes that big play opportunity really at every chance. And when you have that, you're going to have a guy who struggles, but he also makes some tough things look incredibly easy, just like quarterbacks, in my opinion, like Stafford do. So that's really been my comparison. And then when you look at him as a leader, I think just as a leader and as somebody who can, kind of bring his team together and somebody who knows the game and can digest the game as well as he does, he really does remind me of a guy like just in terms of off-field quarterback ability, a guy like Peyton Manning, just his ability to lead. And it's funny I say that because Lawrence's, idol growing up was Manning. So I really do think he's taken a lot of cues from that. And just everything you hear about Lawrence from his teammates, from his coaches inside the building, it's incredibly, incredibly good.